This is the one that changes everything and at the same time changes nothing. And that's why it's so brilliant. This is a brand new 2027 Porsche 911 Targa 4 GTS. Chassis code 992.2. And if you think you know what a Targa is, or what a GTS is, or what a hybrid is, you need to forget it all for the next 20 minutes, because Porsche just rewrote its own rule book. Let's start with the name itself, because Porsche names are famously confusing. But this one actually tells you a whole story. 911, of course, the icon, 60 years and counting. Targa. That means it's not a coupe and it's not a cabriolet. It's that magical third thing that only Porsche does properly. That fixed, wide, brushed aluminum or satin black roll bar. That huge curved heated rear glass that wraps around the back. And that fully automatic folding roof panel in the middle. It's been that way since the first 911 Targa in 1965, when Porsche thought America was going to ban convertibles. So they invented a roll bar convertible. It became a style icon on its own. Steve McQueen had one, the coolest guy in the world. The 4 means all-wheel drive, not rear-wheel drive like a normal Carrera, but 4. Porsche traction management, variable, fully active, can send torque anywhere. And GTS, that is the most important 3 letters. In the Porsche world, GTS means Goldilocks. It has always meant the perfect spot. Not the base Carrera, not the hardcore GT3, not the crazy turbo. It's the one where Porsche takes the Carrera S engine, turns it up, takes the turbo chassis parts, takes the GT3 exhaust and design details, and mixes it into one car that is actually the best to live with every single day. For years, Porsche engineers themselves have said if they could only own 1911, it would be a GTS. And for 2027, for the 992.2 generation, they made the GTS even more special because it is now the first mainstream Targa to become a T-hybrid. And I need you to really understand this hybrid because this is not what Toyota does. This is not what your neighbor's Prius does. There is no plug. There is nowhere to plug it in. You will never charge it. You cannot drive it on pure electricity for miles to go to the shops quietly. Porsche calls it a performance hybrid, an E-machine, and it's directly derived from the 919 hybrid that won Le Mans 3 times and from the technology they are developing for Formula One. There are 2 electric helpers here, and both are incredibly small and incredibly clever. First, let's talk about the engine itself. The old Targa 4 GTS had a 3.0-liter twin-turbo flat-6. That engine is gone. The new one has a brand new 3.6-liter flat-6. Bigger pistons, 97mm bore, new crank, new everything. It alone makes about 478 horsepower. But attached to it is the star of the show, a single electric exhaust gas turbocharger. This is wild. A normal turbo has a turbine wheel that is spun by exhaust gas, which then spins a compressor wheel that pushes air into the engine. The delay between you pressing the throttle and the exhaust actually spinning that turbine is turbo lag. Porsche fixed lag by putting a tiny electric motor, like a wafer-thin motor only 40mm wide, right on the shaft between the turbine and compressor. That motor can spin the turbo up to 120,000 revolutions per minute in a fraction of a second, instantly, before the exhaust gas even gets there. So you get boost at 1,500 revolutions per minute, like you have a huge, naturally aspirated engine. And it can also act as a generator, taking excess exhaust energy and turning it into electricity. Where does that electricity go? Into a tiny, tiny battery. It's not a big 500-kilo battery, like a Taycan. It's a 1.9 kilowatt-hour, 400-volt lithium-ion battery that sits right in the front of the car, where the old 12-volt battery used to be, under the front trunk. It weighs only 27 kilograms. It's about the size of a shoebox. It is air-cooled, not liquid-cooled to save weight. And then the second electric helper. Inside the brand-new, stronger 8-speed PDK dual-clutch transmission, Porsche integrated a second electric motor, a permanent magnet synchronous motor that is 54 horsepower and 110 pound-feet, 150 newton-meters. It assists the engine. It fills in torque during gear shifts, so there is zero interruption, and it generates power when you brake. So you add it all up, the 3.6 engine plus the e-turbo that can also generate, plus the PDK e-motor, you get combined system output of 532 horsepower and 609 newton-meters of torque. That's 449 pound-feet of torque from just 2,000 revolutions per minute. That's a gain of 61 horsepower and 40 newton-meters over the old Targa 4 GTS. And because the hybrid assistance is always on, always filling in, the torque curve is completely flat, like a tabletop from 2,000 to 6,000 RPM. What does that mean in the real world? It means performance that will scare a 911 turbo from 2 years ago. 0 to 60 miles per hour in 3.0 seconds dead with launch control, Porsche claims. But we know Porsche always lies on the slow side. Magazines have already clocked 2.8 seconds. 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in 3.1 seconds. Top track speed 194 miles per hour, 312 kilometers per hour, with the roof closed and almost the same with it open. Quarter mile in 11.1 seconds. This is a Targa, the heaviest 911 shape, because of all the roof motors, doing numbers that supercars did 3 years ago. And the weight, let's address it, because everyone on the internet complains. Yes, the new Targa 4 GTS hybrid weighs about 1,710 kilos, about 3,770 pounds. That's about 60 kilos more than the old Targa 4 GTS, about 130 pounds. But where that weight is matters. The battery is low and in the front, which actually improves the weight balance. The old 911 was very rear heavy. This one is closer to 38% front, 62% rear, better balanced. And because the electric motor helps so much, the power-to-weight ratio is actually way better than before. You do not feel the extra weight. In fact, because the electric motor fills in the gaps, it feels lighter, more responsive. Now let's talk about how it actually drives, because that's all that matters in a 911. You walk up to it. The key is still a little dummy 911 shape. You leave it in your pocket. You pull the flush door handle. You get in. The interior of the 992.2 is a huge step. The big controversy is the full digital cluster. Yes, for the first time in 60 years, there is no analog tachometer. It's all a 12.6-inch curved display. It looks like the Taycan's. But Porsche did it right. You have 7 views. You can have a classic view with 5 round dials that look exactly like the old ones, but they're digital and razor sharp. You can have a full map view. You can have a sport view with a huge central attach that goes to 9,000 with a big digital speedo inside. And on the sides, you have tire pressure, G-force, power meters showing how much the hybrid is boosting and regenerating. And there's a new push-to-pass button. On the steering wheel, you have a boost button inspired by the 911 GT3, our hybrid race car. You press it. You get an extra 10 seconds of full hybrid overboost. It counts down on the dash like in a video game. You press the brake. You twist the start switch. It's still on the left, Le Mans edition, and the flat 6 barks. It doesn't start in silence. It starts with a flare. That electric turbo gives a little whistle. Then it settles into that lumpy boxer idle. Roof closed. You pull away in normal mode, and it's shockingly refined. The suspension is Porsche Active Suspension Management, PSM, standard, 10 millimeters lower than Carrera, with adaptive dampers that read the road. It's comfortable. The hybrid system shuts off the engine when you coast down a hill. It regenerates when you brake. You can barely feel it. You can cruise at 80 miles per hour, roof closed, talking quietly. Bowers and Wilkins 12 speakers surround doing its thing, getting 24, 25 miles per gallon. But then you press that little button on the center console, the roof button, and this never gets old. The rear glass lifts up. The roof panel above you, which is magnesium and fabric for lightness, lifts, folds in a Z shape, and tucks itself perfectly under the rear glass. 19 seconds. You can do it up to 30 miles per hour, and then you press another button and the rear glass itself drops. Now you have this open-air cockpit, but with that big roll bar behind you. The wind buffeting is so much better than a full cabriolet, because that bar and that glass manage the airflow. You can have a conversation at 70 miles per hour with the roof open. And the sound, with the roof open, the engine intake is right behind your head. You hear everything. You hear the turbo sucking air. You hear the electric whine. You hear the flat 6 screaming. Now you switch to Sport Plus. Everything tightens. The exhaust flaps open, those two big black tailpipes, they're specific to GTS. The dampers go to firm, the engine mounts go to stiff, the PDK goes to its most aggressive map. The rear spoiler that extends out the rear lid rises up 100 millimeters higher than before for more downforce. You pull the big metal paddle, which is now fixed to the steering column like a GT3, so you always know where it is, down to second gear. You floor it, and this is where your brain breaks. There is no lag. There is absolutely, literally zero lag. In the old turbo 911s, even the best ones, there was a millisecond of softness at low RPM. You are at 2,000 revolutions per minute in third gear. You go full throttle, and the car just punches you. The electric motor in the PDK gives you that instant 150 Newton meters. The E-turbo is already spinning at full boost, and then the 3.6-liter takes over and just pulls and pulls and pulls to 7,500 revolutions per minute. It doesn't feel like a turbo. It feels like the biggest naturally aspirated engine Porsche ever made, with an electric afterburner. The PDK shifts in 80 milliseconds with no torque interruption because the E-motor fills in during the shift. So acceleration is just one continuous, relentless, violent push. And the chassis, because it's a 4 all-wheel drive, you can use all of it. In a rear-wheel drive 911, you have to be careful in second gear. It would wiggle. In this Targa 4 GTS, you come out a tight second gear hairpin. You floor it, the front axle pulls. The system can send up to 50% of torque forward, but it's rear biased and it just rockets out. No wheel spin. And it has rear axle steering standard on the GTS now. Below 50 kilometers per hour. The rear wheels turn opposite to the front by up to 2.5 degrees. So the car feels like a Cayman, super agile. Above 80 kilometers per hour, they turn the same direction. So it's super stable at 190 miles per hour. The steering itself, electromechanical but completely retuned for 992.2, has so much feel. You feel the road surface. You feel when the front Michelin Pilot Sport S5 tires, which are specially developed 245 front, 315 rear on 20 and 21-inch wheels, start to lose grip. You turn in, and for a Targa, which is heavier than the coupe, it is so sharp. Porsche added extra bracing under the car specifically for the Targa to make up for the roof cutout, and it works. No scuttle shake, no wobble. It feels as stiff as a coupe, and then you close the roof again, 19 seconds, and you're back to a luxury car. So who is this car for, and what does it compete with? It's around $185,000 base, but good spec like this one with the carbon ceramic brakes, the lightweight carbon roof option, the 18-way adaptive sport seats, the HD Matrix LED headlights, the front axle lift, it'll be $210,000, $215,000. For that money, you can get a 911 Carrera GTS Coupe, which is lighter and a bit faster. You can get an Aston Martin DB12 Volante, which is more luxurious, but less sporty. You can get a Mercedes SL63 AMG, which is more of a GT. But none of them have this combination. The SL is a great car, but it's heavy, it's a cruiser. The Aston is gorgeous, but it's not as precise. The 911 Targa is the only car that can do everything. It's the only car you can drive to the ski resort in December with snow tires, all-wheel drive, heated seats, closed roof, then drive to the beach in July roof open, then take to track day on Saturday and lap faster than a 911 GT3 from 2019. And that's the point of the Targa 4 GTS. It's not the most extreme 911. It's not the fastest 911. The Turbo S is faster. The GT3 RS is faster on track. But it's the most complete 911. It's the one that makes sense if you can only have one sports car for the rest of your life. Some purists will say, it's a hybrid now. It's lost its purity. It's too complex. It's too digital. Where's the analog touch? And I get it. I love analog too. But purity is not about what's missing. It's about the feeling. And the feeling of this car, roof down, second gear, 6,000 revolutions per minute, e-boost button pressed, all four wheels clawing, flat six howling right behind your ears, wind in your face. That is the purest 911 feeling I've had in years. It's just faster, sharper, and more usable than ever. So I want to hear from you. Is the new T-Hybrid Targa 4 GTS the perfect daily supercar? Or would you still take the rear-wheel drive Coupe GTS to save weight and money? Let me know in the comments. I read every single one. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the new hybrid system and how that crazy e-turbo works, smash that like button, it really helps us. And subscribe and hit the bell, because next week we are lining up this new Targa 4 GTS-T hybrid against the old 992.1 Targa 4 GTS, and against the new Aston Martin DB12 Alante in a drag race, roll race, and mountain road battle you do not want to miss. Thanks for watching. See you on the next one.